Bees are truly amazing little creatures. They fly from flower to flower looking very busy, and indeed they are always working hard. These small insects play a very big role in our world. Many people know bees for their honey, or perhaps for their painful sting, but bees do so much more than just make honey or defend their homes. They are vital for nature to thrive. Without bees, our world would look very different. Many plants would not be able to make seeds. This means fewer fruits, vegetables, and beautiful wildflowers for us all to enjoy. Bees are nature's tiny gardeners working tirelessly. They help plants grow by carrying pollen between them. This process is called pollination. It is essential for many of the foods we eat every day. Think about apples, almonds, or even coffee. Bees help these plants produce their bounty. So when you see a bee buzzing around, remember it is doing an important job. It's not just looking for its next meal, it is helping to keep our planet healthy and full of life. Their constant work benefits us all, often without us even noticing their silent efforts. The gentle hum of a bee in a garden is a lovely sound. It is a sign that nature is in good balance. These insects have been around for millions of years. They have developed complex societies and fascinating behaviors. Learning about bees can teach us a lot. It can teach us about cooperation and hard work. It can also show us how delicate nature can be. We need to understand and protect these important creatures. Their survival is closely linked to our own. Every little bee contributes to the bigger picture of our ecosystem, so let's take a closer look at the life of a bee. We will explore how they make their delicious honey. We will find out how much honey one tiny bee can produce, and we will uncover the secret behind their famous sting. Why can they only sting once? There is so much to learn about these fuzzy, flying insects. Prepare to be amazed by the world of bees. Their story is one of industry, community, and incredible natural engineering. A beehive is a bustling city of activity. It is home to thousands of bees, all working together. Inside, the air is warm and filled with the scent of honey and beeswax. The hive is made of many six-sided cells. These cells are called honeycomb. Bees build this themselves using wax they produce from their own bodies. It is a marvel of natural engineering. Each cell is perfectly shaped. This perfect shape helps to make the honeycomb very strong. It also uses the least amount of wax for the most amount of storage space. There are different types of bees in a hive. Each type has a special job to do. The most important bee is the queen bee. There is usually only one queen in each hive. Her main job is to lay eggs. She can lay thousands of eggs every single day. Then there are the worker bees. These are all female bees, and they do all the other jobs. They clean the hive and feed the young. They guard the entrance and build the honeycomb. They also go out to collect food for the colony. The male bees in the hive are called drones. Drones do not have stingers. Their only job is to mate with a new queen. They do not collect food or help with any of the work in the hive. Once they have mated, or if winter approaches, they are often pushed out of the hive. This might seem harsh, but it helps the colony survive. The worker bees need to save food for the queen and the developing young bees during colder months. Every bee knows its role, and this division of labor keeps the hive running smoothly. Life inside the hive is very organized. Bees communicate with each other through special dances and smells. For example, a worker bee might do a waggle dance. This dance tells other bees where to find good flowers full of nectar. It is a very clever way to share information. The temperature inside the hive is also carefully controlled. Bees will fan their wings to cool it down if it gets too hot, or they will huddle together to keep warm if it gets too cold. This teamwork ensures the survival and prosperity of the entire bee community. The journey of honey starts with a flower. Worker bees, also known as forager bees, fly out from the hive. Their mission is to find flowers rich in a sugary liquid called nectar. Bees have excellent eyesight. They can see colors that we cannot, like ultraviolet patterns on petals. These patterns often act like landing guides, showing the bees where the nectar is hidden. They are very good at finding the best flowers. A single bee might visit hundreds or even thousands of flowers in just one trip. This shows how dedicated they are to their task. When a bee finds a suitable flower, it uses its long, straw-like tongue. This tongue is called a proboscis. The bee sips the sweet nectar from the flower. The nectar is stored in a special stomach called a honey stomach or crop. This stomach is separate from its digestive stomach. This means the nectar is kept clean and is not used for the bee's own energy immediately. The bee will fill its honey stomach as much as it can. This can sometimes mean the bee is carrying almost its own body weight in nectar. It is quite a load for such a small insect. While collecting nectar, the bee also picks up pollen. Pollen grains are like fine dust. They stick to the bee's hairy body. Some of this pollen rubs off on the next flower the bee visits. This is how pollination happens. So as the bee gathers food for its colony, it also helps plants to make seeds and fruits. It's a wonderful partnership between bees and flowers. The bee gets food and the plant gets to reproduce. This relationship has evolved over millions of years, benefiting both parties immensely. Once the bee's honey stomach is full, it flies back to the hive. This flight can be quite long. Some bees travel several miles from their hive in search of the best nectar sources. They use the sun and landmarks to find their way back home. It is an amazing feat of navigation for such a tiny creature. Back at the hive, the forager bee passes the collected nectar to other worker bees. These are often younger bees called house bees. The next stage of honey making then begins inside the bustling hive. When the forager bee returns to the hive, it doesn't store the nectar straight away. Instead, it passes the nectar to a house bee. This is done mouth to mouth. The house bee takes the nectar into its own honey stomach. Inside the bee's honey stomach, special substances called enzymes are added. These enzymes start to change the nectar. They begin to break down the complex sugars in the nectar into simpler sugars. The main sugars in honey are fructose and glucose. These are easier for bees to digest and less likely to crystallize. This process of passing nectar from bee to bee and adding enzymes happens several times. Each bee holds the nectar in its honey stomach for about half an hour. During this time, the enzymes do their work. This is a crucial step in turning nectar into honey. It is like a tiny, natural food processing plant operating inside each bee. The bees are very efficient. They work together in this chain of transformation. This cooperation ensures the quality of the final honey product. It is a testament to their organized social structure. After the enzymes have been mixed in, the nectar is still quite watery. It contains a lot of water, sometimes up to 70%. This is too much water for honey to be stored for a long time. It would ferment and spoil, so the bees need to dry it out. They deposit the processed nectar into the cells of the honeycomb. Then the bees fan their wings very fast. This creates a current of air that flows over the honeycomb cells. The moving air helps the water to evaporate from the nectar. This is a slow and patient process. The bees continue to fan the nectar until its water content drops to around 17 to 18%. This low water content is very important. It makes honey a stable food that can be stored for a long time. Bacteria and yeast cannot grow easily in such a dry environment. Once the honey is ready, the bees seal the honeycomb cell with a cap made of fresh beeswax. This cap keeps the honey clean and safe until it is needed. The stored honey will feed the colony during winter or when flowers are scarce. Section 5. A bee's lifetime labor. How much honey? It is quite astonishing to think about how much work goes into making honey. A single worker bee has a very short life, especially during the busy summer months. A summer worker bee might only live for about 6 weeks. In that short time, she works tirelessly, from cleaning the hive as a young bee to foraging for nectar in her later weeks. Every moment is dedicated to the well-being of the colony. Her contribution to honey production might seem tiny on its own, but it is the collective effort of thousands of bees that fills the honeycomb. So, how much honey does one single bee make in its entire lifetime? The answer is surprisingly small. A single worker bee will produce only about 1/12 of a teaspoon of honey. That is a very tiny amount indeed. It really puts into perspective the enormous effort required to make even a small jar of honey. Think about that next time you spread honey on your toast. Thousands of bees have contributed to that sweet treat. Each bee has flown countless miles and visited thousands of flowers to make just 1 pound, about 450 grams, of honey. A colony of bees needs to fly a combined distance that is equivalent to flying around the world more than twice. They also need to visit around 2 million flowers. These numbers are truly mind-boggling. It shows the incredible industry of these small creatures. The hive works as a superorganism. Each bee is like a tiny cell in a larger body, all working for a common goal. This collective power allows them to achieve amazing feats of production and survival. Despite the tiny individual contribution, the colony as a whole can produce a lot of honey. A healthy hive can make much more honey than it needs for its own survival. Beekeepers can then harvest this surplus honey. This is the honey that we get to enjoy. But it is important for beekeepers to leave enough honey for the bees, especially for them to survive through the winter months. The bees have worked so hard for it after all. Their tiny efforts accumulate into something truly precious and valuable. Section 6, Liquid Gold, the goodness of honey. Honey is often called liquid gold, and for good reason. It's not just a sweet treat, it is also packed with good things. For thousands of years, humans have valued honey for its taste and its health benefits. Ancient Egyptians used honey as a sweetener, a medicine, and even as an offering to their gods. It is a natural food, made entirely by bees from the nectar of flowers. The type of flower the nectar comes from can change the color, taste, and aroma of the honey. This means there are many different varieties of honey to explore. Honey is mainly made up of simple sugars, mostly fructose and glucose. These sugars provide a quick source of energy. This is why athletes sometimes use honey to boost their performance. Unlike refined white sugar, honey also contains small amounts of vitamins and minerals. These can include B vitamins, vitamin C, calcium, iron, and potassium. The exact amounts vary depending on the type of honey. Darker honeys, like buckwheat honey, tend to have more antioxidants than lighter honeys. These antioxidants help to protect our bodies from damage. Beyond basic nutrition, honey has other interesting properties. It has natural antibacterial qualities. This means it can help to stop bacteria from growing. This is why honey has been used for centuries as a wound dressing. It can help to keep wounds clean and promote healing. Some types of honey, like Manuka honey from New Zealand, are particularly well known for their strong antibacterial effects. Honey can also be soothing for a sore throat. A warm drink with honey and lemon is a popular home remedy for coughs and colds. It is important to remember that honey is still a sugar, so it should be eaten in moderation as part of a balanced diet. Also, honey should not be given to infants under 1 year old. This is because it can sometimes contain spores of a bacterium that can be harmful to very young babies. For older children and adults, however, honey can be a delicious and more natural alternative to processed sugars. It offers a unique flavor and a range of potential health benefits that have been cherished throughout history. Section 7, the sting's tail, a bee's fierce defense. Most people have a healthy respect for bees, partly because of their sting. A bee sting can be painful, and for some people it can cause an allergic reaction, but bees do not sting for no reason. They are generally gentle creatures when they're out foraging among the flowers. A bee will usually only sting if it feels threatened or if its hive is in danger. The sting is a defense mechanism. It is a way for the bee to protect itself or its colony from perceived attackers, such as animals trying to steal their honey or destroy their home. Only female worker bees have stingers. The queen bee also has a stinger, but she rarely uses it. Her stinger is smoother and she can sting multiple times. She usually only uses it to fight rival queens. Male bees, the drones, do not have stingers at all. So if you see a bee that looks a bit larger and fuzzier and it's a drone, you don't need to worry about it stinging you. The worker bee's stinger is a modified ovipositor. This is an organ that, in other insects, is used for laying eggs. In worker bees, it has evolved into a weapon. The stinger of a worker honeybee is not like a simple needle. It is a complex structure with barbs, like tiny fishhooks. These barbs point backwards. When a honeybee stings a mammal, like a human or a bear, these barbs get stuck in the skin. The skin of mammals is quite tough and elastic. As the bee tries to pull away after stinging, the barbed stinger anchors itself firmly into the flesh. The bee is not strong enough to pull its stinger out without tearing its own body. This is a crucial detail that explains a lot about the bee's ultimate sacrifice. When a bee stings, it also releases alarm pheromones. These are special chemical signals. These pheromones alert other bees in the vicinity to the danger. It can make other nearby bees more agitated and more likely to sting as well. This is why it is often advised to move away calmly and quickly if one bee stings you. The smell can effectively call for backup from its hive mates. This coordinated defense helps to protect the colony from larger threats that a single bee could not handle on its own. It is a very effective, though costly, defense strategy. Section 8. A one-time weapon. The sacrifice of stinging. The reason a worker honeybee can only sting once is directly related to those barbs on its stinger. When the stinger gets lodged in the skin of a mammal, the bee cannot simply withdraw it. As the bee struggles to fly away, the stinger, along with part of its abdomen, is torn from its body. This includes the venom sac and some of the bee's digestive tract, muscles and nerves. It is a catastrophic injury for the tiny insect. The bee will fly away, but it will die shortly afterwards from this severe damage. This act of stinging is therefore a final act of defense. It is a sacrifice for the good of the colony. The bee gives its life to try and repel a threat. This is quite different from wasps or bumblebees. Many wasps and bumblebees have smooth stingers or stingers with smaller barbs. They can often sting multiple times without harming themselves because their stingers do not get stuck. This is why a wasp might seem more aggressive. It has less to lose from stinging. But for a honeybee, stinging is a fatal decision. Even after the bee has flown away, the detached stinger can continue to cause harm. The venom sac remains attached to the stinger. Muscles in the venom sac continue to contract. This pumps more venom into the wound for several seconds or even a minute or two after the bee is gone. This is why it is important to remove a bee stinger as quickly as possible. The best way to remove it is by scraping it out sideways with a fingernail or a credit card. Squeezing it can push more venom into the skin. So while a bee sting is unpleasant, it is worth remembering the bee's perspective. It is not an act of aggression, but a desperate act of self-defense or the defense of its home. The bee pays the ultimate price for using its weapon against a thick-skinned mammal. This suicidal defense mechanism has evolved because it is effective at deterring predators from repeatedly attacking the hive. The loss of a few individual worker bees is a price the colony can pay if it means protecting the queen and the precious stores of honey and young bees. Section 9. Conclusion: appreciating our amazing bees. Bees are far more than just makers of sweet honey or tiny creatures with a painful sting. They are essential architects of our natural world. Their tireless work pollinating flowers helps to produce a huge amount of the food we eat. From fruits and vegetables to nuts and seeds, bees play a critical role. They also help wild plants reproduce, contributing to the biodiversity and beauty of our landscapes. The gentle buzz of bees in a garden is a sign of a healthy ecosystem, a delicate balance they help maintain. We have learned how bees work together in their complex societies inside the hive. They meticulously transform nectar from flowers into delicious and nutritious honey. This process involves incredible teamwork, from the forager bees collecting nectar to the house bees processing and storing it. A single bee produces only a tiny amount of honey in its lifetime. This highlights the immense collective effort needed for every spoonful we enjoy. Honey itself is a marvel, providing energy and possessing natural beneficial properties that humans have valued for centuries. Understanding the bee's sting also gives us a new appreciation for these insects. The worker honeybee stings only as a last resort, sacrificing its own life to defend its colony. This barbed stinger, a one-time weapon against mammals, underscores the bee's commitment to its family. It is a reminder that these creatures are not inherently aggressive towards us. They are simply trying to protect their home and their community. By understanding their behavior, we can learn to coexist more peacefully with them. Therefore, it is crucial that we protect bees and their habitats. Bees face many threats today, from habitat loss to pesticides and diseases. By supporting bee-friendly practices, planting flowers and reducing pesticide use, we can all help these vital insects. Appreciating bees means valuing their role in nature, respecting their hard work, and understanding their fascinating lives. They are small but mighty, and our world is a much richer, sweeter, and more vibrant place because of them. Let us all be champions for the bees.